Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pastor Bruce. Welcome to amvoice.net and One Man's Opinion. Today I want to talk to you about two topics. One is Harvey Weinstein. Two is the sanctuary state of California. Now, with Harvey, you have to understand something. It hasn't been the last 30 years that sexual abuse has been going on out there. And he says that it's the culture. And they're sitting there saying, well, no, it's not the culture to rape women. Well, I hate to tell the news industry, it's been going on for a lot longer than 30 years. And it's been going a lot longer than even Harvey Weinstein before he even got into the business. The fact of the matter is, it was the culture. And it still is the culture. It's called the casting couch. You want to perform in our movie? You want to perform on our television? Sure. How can you perform on our couch? And even young boys came out and said how they were sexually abused, but nobody listened to them. Nobody accepted that what they were saying was the truth. They're just drug-addicted kids. Well, what led them to the drugs? And that was the sexual abuse. It's been going on for a lot more than 30 years, and it's been going on a lot longer than Harvey Weinstein. So yes, when he got into the business out there and was doing it, it was the culture. And as a sexual predator, that was perfect for him because he could get away with it. But as we grow, ladies and gentlemen, as a nation, as we grow in our responsibilities, we understand what is right and what is wrong. It is the juveniles out in California who believe that they don't have to grow up. They can continue to physically and sexually abuse women because they've got the money and they've got the power. And that is something that's been going on, like I know, for at least 60 years. And like I said, there were some boys out there that came out and talked about how they were sexually abused, and nobody listened to them. They went on late night talk shows. Nobody would listen to them. Now, why you have a choice, ladies and gentlemen. You really do. In Hollywood, you have a choice. You can perform on the casting couch and maybe get a role, or if you can't get a role, we'll put you over into porn. Maybe that's a possibility. But look at how the porn industry has blown up in this country, how the sexual abuse of women in porn has been so aggressive over the last 30 years. And it's a multi-billion-dollar business. From the porn, you have all sorts of toys. You see, the sexual revolution in this country back in the 1970s was not about women being sexually abused. It was about women going out there and being just like men, having sex with whoever and whenever they wanted it. And we see the problems that caused today, where you have a multi-billion-dollar porn industry. You have people like Harvey Weinstein that's out there in California sexually abusing women. You have sex toys. You have kids that are having sex at the age of 13 and 14 years old, and they have no clue about what love and relationship is all about. Here's the fanatical part about the whole thing with that, is that the psychological department of our country sits there and says that a human brain does not develop until they're 26. So they're still teenagers up to the age of 26. Now that's something to think about. But yet the National Organization of Women comes out and says if a girl wants to have sex at the age of 12 and 13, that's their choice. Well, if their minds aren't developed, what good is having sexual relationships? Now, you make them mature, responsible adults at the age of 12 and 13 like it was 150, 200 years ago. I can understand that. They know what they're doing. But when it's just for sex, just to experience something, they ruin the rest of their lives because of that. And the National Organization of Women, people like Hillary Clinton, promote women's rights to be able to do whatever it is they want to do. And if stories are true about her, well, we understand why she wants young girls to have sexual relationships. So understand that it is important for us to get a grip on the sexual revolution that's gone on in this country and stop it. No more. If people, and there are women out there that will holler rape just to get attention. And it's very difficult to distinguish between what is rape and what is consensual. Young girls will holler rape if they think they're pregnant. I didn't want to do it. Well, you did it. You're the one that spread your legs. Were there any? And there's a whole lot of different stories that go on with that. So understand that yes, Hollywood needs to cut back. Hollywood doesn't like violence yet. Look at all the movies with violence in them. Hollywood doesn't want people to have be sexually abused, but yet look at all of the movies and look at the porn where women are sexually abused. It needs to stop at Hollywood. Actually, the consumer needs to turn Hollywood off. You need to stop going to the movies for a while. You need to stop your cable. Cancel your cable. Tell them enough is enough. We're sick and tired of your abuse in Hollywood and telling us it's all right so that you can get away with it and we can't. And that's what happens. So it's important to sit there and fight back. And I always say fight back without violence. You have a voice. Your voice is your dollars. And when you cancel your cable, when you cancel going to the movies and promoting this stuff, that you don't like people taking a knee, then don't go to football games. And then that way, when they're sitting there seeing how much revenue they're losing because of the ignorance within our society, they'll make changes. But the right wing, the conservative wing, the independents in this country have to stand up and say enough is enough from you liberal morons. We're not going to live like this anymore. So that's my point and my opinion on it. You can take for what it's worth, but understand, we need to fight back. Not with violence, but we need to fight back in where it's going to hurt them the most, and that's the pocket. And we know that this is all part of a plan of the Democratic Party, the Social Democrats. And again, I equate the Social Democrats in today's political system, whether they're Republican or Democrat, they're Social Democrats that are fighting against the American way of life. And that I equate to the 1917-1925 Bolshevik Revolution, where the Social Democrats won and changed the name to the Communist Party. We see what's happening. If you open your eyes, you study history, just a little bit of it, you'll see the truth about what's going on in America today. And you, as the millennials, you as the young people in this country, can stop it if you want to. Look at what's happening in Venezuela. Look what's happening in Cuba. Look what's happening in Mexico. Look what's happening over in Europe. And how they are suffering under anything other than a democratic republic. A democratic republic is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Socialism does not have that. It is of the government, by the government, for the government. You suffer. So you have an opportunity here to sit there and say, enough is enough. When you turn off your televisions, when you turn off the going to the movies, when you turn off going to football games, then you have an opportunity of speaking out by not spending your dollars. And that'll help. Second is who's standing up for him? Who's standing up for Harvey? The only one that's come out to stand up for Harvey. Okay. All right, come on. Really? Lindsay Lohan, the trouble child, the one who got strung out on drugs, the one who was she sexually abused by Weinstein? Was she given drugs, or then she doesn't know she was? But she's sitting there saying, "Oh, give him a break." No. All right, so I have to ask Michelle Obama: is Lindsay thinking with her mind, or is she thinking with Harvey Weinstein's mind? And the same with Hillary. Hillary wouldn't say a word. And Michelle, you're not saying anything either. So if you're not saying anything, are you thinking with your mind? Or are you thinking with Harvey Weinstein's mind. Do you agree with sexual abuse? And allow people like this to do it? Or is it something that you just don't want to get into? Because that's not your place. It is your place to attack a white man in the White House, isn't it? That's what you're doing. Every time you open your mouth and you attack Donald Trump, you're attacking a white man. That's reverse discrimination. And you're doing it for women's rights? If you are, then you should be talking out against Harvey Weinstein. If you're doing it for black rights, then explain what black rights are being denied. Are you another person that has your head up the anal passage of 250 years ago and only concerns yourself with slavery back then and doesn't care what's going on in today's society? You want to get rid of guns? Okay, fine, get rid of guns. But then how about the 4,000 people that have been shot, almost 3,000 people this year in Chicago? Isn't that your home city? That are killed, and the over 4,000 black-on-black deaths for the last 3 years have occurred out there in the city with the strongest gun laws that are going, yet criminals have guns. How is that, Michelle? Why aren't you speaking out about that? Why aren't you protecting and demanding better quality of life in the inner cities for the black people in our country? Instead, you attack white people. That's reverse discrimination. You ought to be ashamed. You're a hypocrite. And that's wrong. Next thing I want to do is talk about the sanctuary city or sanctuary state of California. This is a joke. It really is. Okay. Governor Brown is sitting there saying the whole state is a sanctuary state. Well, if that's the case, the government should not give that state any money. If they think that they can survive without the federal government, that's fine. But they can't because they're already suffering. They're one of the highest tax rates that are going. And Governor Brown just passed another law that sits there and gives them pretty much everybody pays equal to what with the whole state when it combines together, the state budget. So they're receiving the budget twice. Once through payroll taxes and second through other taxes. Why? Because they can't afford to live the way they're living. And yet they're going to protect and defend the rights of criminals. Now, back during the time, for all of you Christians who have read your Bible, you understand that there were sanctuary cities. And that was because there were people who did wrong things, like they killed other citizens at that time. Accidentally or without provocation, it occurred. And they ran to a sanctuary city and asked for sanctuary to protect them until they can resolve whatever problem that there was. Sanctuary cities are not like that today. Sanctuary cities and sanctuary state of California is, oh yeah, you're a criminal, come on in here and live. And that's all right. Since we have criminals living out here, then our citizens, they can stay locked up in their homes, protect themselves from you. If you look at it, in the 70s when I was in Vandenberg Air Force Base, there was a problem with highway patrolmen being killed. They were targeted in the 70s. People, you think it just happened recently? No. Hatred of the police department in California has been going on for years. And it's been like that for the simple fact that they do not want to have police out there. They don't want police in control. They're the ones that cry police state. While they're crying police state, actors and actresses are getting busted for drunk driving and drugs. They're getting brought up in front of the judges who give them very lenient sentences. And they walk away and they do it again. And while on probation, they get caught again doing drugs. And they're sitting there going, well, you know, our prisons are overcrowded, so we're going to put you on house arrest. But that doesn't stop them from using drugs. And they can get away with it because that's what Hollywood wants. Don't take our actors and actresses. So when you look at shows today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back on the way things are going out there. Look at what's happening in those shows. Teenagers, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds having sex, drinking, doing drugs. Where are the parents? There's no parents. Because in the liberal mind, people can do whatever they want to do. However, in the legal mind, if you have an 18 or a 19-year-old having sex with a 13-year-old, he's going to jail. He's going to jail. Well, hey, it happens in the movies. Well, of course it does, because they can do whatever they want to do. And they can justify it as freedom of speech. And I'll say it again and I'll continue to say it. There's a difference between freedom of speech and responsible speech. And we know responsible speech. You don't holler fire in a movie theater. You don't holler hijack on an airplane. And you have to sit there and start saying, we have to stop some of this. Now, I'm not saying being politically correct, because you see what happened with the politically correct, don't you? That's the left wing of our country. Out there in California screaming and hollering about how everybody should be politically correct. And then you have President Donald Trump, and everybody throws being politically correct out the window. Well, you know, he's said a lot of things against people. Well, that might possibly be true. But the old question is, and you millennials should take care of this and understand it, do two wrongs make a right? Just because he did it, does it give everybody else the right to do it? And the answer to that is no, it doesn't. So you have to understand that the left wing of this country is out there in California. That is their home state. Harvey Weinstein has a tape in New York of him talking to a woman who said that in the tape, and he agreed with it, that she was sexually assaulted the night before. And yet they said nothing. Why? Because New York City is a Democratic-controlled city. And they're going to take care of those rich people who donate to the Democratic Party. That's why. And so Harvey gets away with stuff, the Democrats get away with stuff, and Hollywood promotes it all, and that is the home, the HUD. Now, for a lot of you millennials, you don't understand it, but there was a guy by the name of Senator McCarthy, and it called McCarthyism, back in the 50s, was going after Hollywood because of the communists that were out there spreading their propaganda. And because they had the money, and they had the legal teams, and they had the power, they made him look like a fool. But we're looking at 70 years later, people. And look at the abuse that came out of Hollywood to manipulate and control the minds of the American people. He might have been right, but like Donald Trump, he didn't have any support. Everybody laughed at him, mocked him, and that was wrong. So today, Hollywood gets away with what they want to get away with because they're in a Democratic-controlled liberal state. And actually, it's a socialist state because socialism reigns. The people suffer while the rich sit at their great parties. And if you understand the communist revolution or the Bolshevik revolution, they attacked the rich. They brought the rich down. It's not the business owners that you need to be worried about. It is Hollywood that you need to be worried about. And California is protecting those criminals. And they are. Harvey Weinstein is a criminal. And he's out there in California doing all of his sexual abuse. He's a predator. He's been for years. And he's sitting there saying, oh, give me a break. Let me run off to counseling. He should have ran off to counseling years ago. Only now, because he's caught, does he sit there. And he doesn't even say, I'm sorry. He's caught. And because he's caught, what happens? He's coming out going, oh, I have a problem. I need to do something about it. You should have done something about it 30 years ago. But you're right, Harvey. It was the culture. You could get away with it back then. And if people wanted to make $400,000 an episode for a television episode, if they wanted to make $2 million or $5 million or $15 million on a movie, They better be able to perform on that casting couch for you. That was the culture. But as long as you continue to promote sexual harassment, as long as Hollywood continues to promote sexual abuse, and as long as California keeps it a sanctuary state, Harvey Weinstein is protected. They're not going to touch him out there, and they should. He won't be able to leave California because anywhere else they'll prosecute him, but not in the sanctuary state of California. So it's Democrats and socialists and communists that are out there in California protecting Democrats and socialists and communists. And you, the American people, suffer and are made to look like fools because why? You're handing money out. Well, there's shows out there, and I've heard this, there's shows out there that Christians don't like. And they've called up and they've protested against these shows. And the customer service reps on the other end, well, listen, you got 200 channels. If you don't like that, change to another channel. That's their answer to continue to take your money to promote the sexual deviancy of Hollywood and to promote the drug use that's going on out there. So it's up to you, ladies and gentlemen. You make the decision. The way to fight back is to turn off your TV sets, cancel your cable or your internet access, not internet, but cable or dish networks, and just keep your internet. Listen to the news. Go to YouTube and listen to some of the news clips. Call up the person you want, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. Call up Obama. Call up Nancy Pelosi. Whoever you want to find out more about. There are news clips all over the place showing the hypocrisy that they talk about on the other side. And it's them. It's always been them that they're hypocrites. I can do whatever I want to do. You can't. Because I'm in power and control. That's why I'm against the Democratic Party. If they were truly for the American people, a lot of this stuff would stop. They would help pass the laws necessary to make this nation great again. But they don't want to. They want to have a socialist government and they want to be in control. I've said that before. And when you have the states of California as a sanctuary state, when you have New York City as a sanctuary city, these two are Democratic controlled. And they don't care about the American people. They care about the Latinos, the criminals who can come in here and say, hey, look, we're protecting you, vote for us. Because if you vote for the Democrats, you're going to be imprisoned or you're going to be deported. So understand there's a vitally big role here for the American people. And Lindsay Lohan, I tell you, she needs to go back in wherever she's at, because even in her video supporting Harvey, she looks like she's just totally wasted away. And she doesn't need to be out there saying anything at all. Hey, listen, that's one man's opinion. I thank you for listening. God bless. Take care. And we will talk soon. One other thing before I leave, ladies and gentlemen, that's the one thing I hate to talk about the most. In order for us to grow, we need funding. And that funding can only come from the people. I'm not going to ask the federal government for grants to put more of a burden of taxes on the people because I want to grow a business. That's up to me, and that's up to the people who listen to me. Two ways we can grow. One, listen to my broadcast, pass it on to your friends. Two, give a donation. I told you, it's about 0.03% that goes into, and you can call up and find out how much actually is. But when you give $1, you don't always get $1. Some of that has to go to the bank. So 70 cents on the dollar. So what I ask for is $2 minimum. That way at least I get $1. And I can take that and put it into a pool. Eventually we can start building up personnel and we can get better systems and work so that we can get their voice out, the American voice, the AM voice out all across the world so that people understand what we're doing. But your donations are critical. Your support is critical in order to be able to do that. So $2, $5, $10, did you hit the jackpot? Are you a multimillionaire? You want to give $1 million? Fine with me. I don't care. If I had 1 million people giving me $2, that's just over $1 million. I could do so many different things. And why? Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'm an accountant. I know how to handle and manipulate money in order to put it to its best possible use. And I will do that for you. And we'll get the word out. You want to cancel your cable television and sit there and send us what you're not sending to the cable industry? We'll put it in the pool. And when you're ready, we'll help you get the cable back at no cost. And they'll just continue doing what they're doing. So understand, there's ways that we can work around this. But we need to fight back. We need to pool our money together in order to be able to put the defense up that we can put up. We can start advertising out there of the corrupt political system and the corrupt movie industry that's out there. But we can't do it without your donations. So thank you, and God bless, and we'll talk soon.